On today's show, we're going to be interviewing our new loan officer, Andy, and we're going to give you a chance to stump him with questions about our online masterclass. There's going to be prizes if you can do it. All right, let's do this. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Finance Agents Live. This is episode 92, and today I am joined by the infamous Andy Wong. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for welcoming me. Glad to be aboard.
All right, we're glad to have you here. Andy's going to be talking to us about himself. He's a new loan officer with us. He's going to give us fun stuff. I don't know what he's going to say. We're going to find out soon. Then we're going to be talking about the masterclass. Andy has been supporting the flood of people that have been going through our masterclass, helping them answer questions, great at doing their implementation strategy calls, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to be getting into that. So stay tuned. It's going to be fun. You're going to have a chance to stump Andy with fun CRE masterclass related questions. If you can stump him, there will be prizes, so stick around for that. Before we get there, let's give you a shout out for next week. We're going to be here live at noon. It is going to be the special mystery show. It's so exciting. I can't even tell you what it is. Maybe I don't know what it is. But either way, it's super exciting. So come back next week at noon. We will be here. If you want to get an alert, subscribe, and you'll get these fun little notifications coming out to you saying, oh my God, we're going live right now. So do that. With that said, let's jump into it. We're going to cover 4 things today on the show. 1, meet Andy, our new loan officer. Right there. 2, Andy describes the masterclass process, going to talk about it. 3, he's going to get into some best and worst. What's good about it? What do people not like? What can we improve? Feel free to chime in with your own thoughts on that as we do it. And finally, we'll get into the Stump Andy section, where we're going to be doing questions and answers. And you are going to win prizes if you can ask him an appropriate question, Frank, an appropriate question that he cannot answer correctly. All right, so we're getting excited. Let's jump into this. Andy, here is your big chance. You are now officially YouTube famous.
Ooh, YouTube famous.
Tell the world about you. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Andy Wong. I'm married, have 3 kids, which is great. So
yep.
That's cool.
That's why we hired him.
That's the whole reason. That's all I put down for my application, and good to go. So I've been working with Trey with some capacity for quite a while now, and he's finally got me to settle down here at the office here, so corporate office. It's been fun, a little different, but I like it so far.
We caught him trying to work with one of our competitors, and we said, grabbed him in here, and we're glad we have. Everybody likes him, so, minus, some of the other stuff. But I won't bring that up.
Hi, Rhoda.
Just kidding. All right, so thank you for telling us about you. Next, we're going to talk about your most embarrassing moment ever.
Ooh, perfect, thanks. Great question. Probably this moment right now. This is good.
I'm just kidding. No, that's I hate that question, by the way. But what do you like about working here? That's a tee up for saying nice things about me, but or anybody.
Ooh,
what do you like about working here? What's interesting? Go for it.
I like working here. I like the people I work with. I think that's important. That's something that was a big concern with me about coming to work in an office. I like the offices. It's a small-ish office, so you can kind of get that camaraderie with all the people you work with, so it's fun. And sometimes I'm able to overhear some other people's conversations, so it's a great way to absorb some knowledge about lots of things. I spend a good amount of my day Googling things that Tim says to find out if it's a real thing or a made-up word.
Usually made-up words. Like gesticulate, that's a made-up word.
Now I know.
All right, so Andy has known Trey for a long time. How long have you known Trey for?
Ooh,
Forever?
Forever,
basically.
20 years
so maybe? We got to get some funny stories about Trey. I actually warned him about this in advance, so you've had a chance to think of, do you have any funny stories you could tell us about Trey? And Darren, we can't see the comments anymore. So
I have to filter out a lot
on the screen.
Funny stories so I can keep my job, because as I mentioned earlier, I do like working here, so that's good. A good one is if you know Trey, he's very particular about everything. He's got his routine, he's very regimented, and back in a while, a couple different things we've worked on, I've liked to throw off his routine. Just little things.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. Move this here, move this there, and just kind of interrupt him when he's speaking. And he knows it's coming, but he can't help himself, but gets flustered, and it's a good laugh for everyone involved.
All right, here's a little something about Andy that I'm just bringing up because I see Frank's on the show. Frank does a lot of email marketing to all those people. It's awesome. We probably get him 2 or 3 times a week, and they're great. The other day, Rhoda mentioned that she wasn't receiving them, so Andy took it on himself to do what? How are you helping Rhoda out?
Well, I think it's important. I think Frank does a great job putting his time and effort into the marketing. Obviously, it reaches a lot of people, which is great. So I just want to make sure it reaches Rhoda as well. So I make sure to forward all of Frank's emails to Rhoda.
And who do you forward it to?
All of Rhoda's email addresses, all of her aliases.
So she gets it like at least 5 times. Every time you email Frank, Rhoda ends up getting it 5 times. So we're sharing the love on all your marketing. So awesome. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the masterclass. A lot of what you've been doing here. How much of what you do here is the masterclass versus funding programs or working with offices?
We keep a good cycle of everything going. I think a lot of it just tends to funnel back to the masterclass. It's something that's a little bit newer, and we kind of launched around the time I came aboard, so it was great to get involved in, and it's been really successful. It's actually brought in a lot of good revenue stream for the company as well as the member offices.
All right, well, how much of your day do you spend working with people that are going through the master class or with the deals they bring in?
Ooh, if you encompass the deals they brought in, a good chunk of my day. On a daily average, at least 25%, maybe more.
Okay, all right.
It's pretty good.
So when somebody's going through the course, when they get to it's not quite the midpoint, maybe 2/3 point, they're going to have to stop and take the assessment, right?
Correct.
Or and that creates a call with you. What do you do on that call?
Sure. So we'll go over the call. We'll go over a little bit about the person taking the course, where they came from, what their background is. We'll go over the information that they've learned and ask if they have any questions about it. And we'll kind of go through the questions and answers and reiterate the highlights of the course and the most important parts. And then at that point in time, we'll move forward to the certification test.
All right, so it's a review before they go and they take the final test where they demonstrate that they learned everything that they needed to in order to actually go out and start offering private loans to their clients, right?
Absolutely. It gives them an opportunity to ask me any questions that they have about the course or about us as a direct lender in general. And that way we can clear some things up before they take the certification test.
All right, now if you're not very familiar with the Masterclass is something we offer to people who are looking to get into private lending. It teaches you everything you need in order to send in deals to one of our member offices or corporate where we can get funding. Remember, when you're doing this, you can get commissions up to $10,000 to $20,000, so it can be very lucrative, but you got to know what the heck you're doing. Honestly, at this point, if you come to us and you need us to teach you from scratch, we don't have the time because we got a lot of business. That's why we have the Masterclass. So if you're new to it and you want to get into it, the Masterclass is perfect for that. Andy, could you give a quick just description of the steps for someone who joins the Masterclass? What's going to happen as they go through it?
Sure, absolutely. So you invest in the class, and once you sign up, it's $197. Your LMS is instantly created. So
What's an LMS?
It's our learning management system.
So it's where you learn what the heck we're going to teach you.
Absolutely. So you'll be able to start the course. It's pretty straightforward.
And you can do it in the middle of the night if you
Absolutely.
want, right? Because it's
your own time
available. It's not a class you got to go into. You just go online.
Sure. It's structured well, but it's definitely something you can do on your own time. So you can do a little bit here, a little bit there. I believe someone that signed up yesterday actually completed the course overnight.
Awesome.
So we have the call scheduled for later today.
What do you see most of the time? How long does it typically take somebody from when they sign up to when they end up talking to you?
Pretty committed. It just kind of depends how committed the person is to the course. Obviously, if you're willing to invest the time, usually pretty quickly. I'd say on average a couple days. If you're real estate savvy, if you have any kind of real estate background, a day is pretty feasible.
Okay, so if you're experienced, a day. Inexperienced people might take a week, but really doesn't take that long. We really honed it down to the important stuff, not a lot of fluff in there, right? So you come in, it's a $197 investment right now. It's really $297, but we're still offering a discount. You immediately get access to the training. You go through the course, then they talk to you, then they go and do the certification test. What happens after that?
Right, so after the call, there's actually another video to watch. It's 3 videos broken down. It reiterates the information you learned as the course, as well as presenting new information. Then after the certification test, we'll set up another call. We call it the implementation strategy call. And that's the way we'll sit down with you, maybe your affiliate manager, and kind of go over the test and make sure you understand the information, and then choose the best course of action going forward. So, where you are, your location, your geographical location is important, as well as your personal and business background. So we'll course a plan of attack on what's best for you and best for us, and see what's the best way to move forward together.
And that's when you can start digging into actual deals. So if you came into this and you already have deals ready, please go through the course first. It's pretty quick. Then when you get to this point, you could start saying you probably already know some of the answers on whether or not it's a workable deal, but there's always questions, and we love that. So that's the point where you can start getting into that. Then you go out and start finding clients, right? Okay, so tell us about the masterclass. What kind of response, you're talking to people after they've gone through most of it, what kind of response are you getting from them?
Sure. People are pretty appreciative of the knowledge. I think it's something that's important, and it's a little bit different based on the people's, the participants' background. So if it's someone that's had a real estate background, lots of times they're saying, oh, the course was pretty good, it was straightforward, it didn't waste my time, which was great, and it taught me a little bit about you as a direct lender. And so that way they're have a better idea of what they can reflect to their agents and the people they're working with. And for the people that are newer, it really helps them get a background of real estate. So when we say start using terminology that they may have previously not known, they're now educated on that.
Now, Frank's saying on here, by the way, this has nothing to do with us. Frank says when someone buys the real estate masterclass, they may earn a trip to play a round. I'm assuming it's a round of golf, or not just play around, to play around in Costa Rica. I think that's something just through Easy Financial. I don't know anything about that. Maybe we could have you on the show later and you could talk about what you're doing. For us, you just win a chance to earn $20,000 commissions, which I think is pretty darn good. I'd probably take that over Costa Rica, but Costa Rica does sound awesome, so we want to learn more about that. All right, so your response from people that are experienced in real estate is that it's good and sufficient, and for new people, kind of opens the doors. Who ends up liking it more? What you feel like people with no experience like it more, or experienced people like it more? What's your impression?
A little bit of a toss-up. I think experience helps. Like I can tell you right now, I was talking to an agent last week on Monday, and we kind of went over the course, and he decided to dive into it and took the course on Monday, had it completed by Monday. We did the call on Tuesday, and he's already submitted 2 deals. I think you submitted an LOI for 1. So
yeah, I declined them both. No, I'm just kidding.
He was appreciative of that, and he said the biggest thing he said was important to him, that it helped save his time.
Right.
So that way he was able to set a realistic expectation for his client as well as himself. So he wasn't chasing deals that wasn't going to fit with us or wasn't going to fit for the client. So that was something that was really important to him. So he appreciated it.
Yeah, and by the way, that may seem counterintuitive. You could just call up and ask some questions on the phone, and that would seem like the fastest way to understand what we do, but it really isn't, because you're not going to get a full picture. If you just say, what do you do here, what do you do here? Well, that's all you know. But by going through the course, you invest a little bit of time. It saves you a lot of time on dead deals, which is really the biggest risk you have as a loan officer or finance agent, is chasing and investing time in dead deals. So what are some things that people haven't liked or have had issues with or had to overcome in going through the course?
There's a little bit of learning curve with this. Since it's online, there's technology. So we did early on have a few agents that were a little technologically challenged as far as knowing where to click and what to click. So that was a little bit of an issue for some people. The only other thing I'd say is some people would want a little more information about the 100% CLTV that we've offered, which is great. It's something that's been very popular lately. And if that's the case, I've definitely advised them to give me a call, and we can go over it with Tim or myself in further detail.
Now, I've heard some people give some constructive feedback, or let's say complain about some of the questions when they get to the test, because they say, hey, I don't necessarily know the answer to that because that wasn't directly covered in the training. And so here's my chance to just sort of tell you directly, we're not trying to make this so dang easy that it's just obvious, right? If I tell you 10 things and have you answer 10 things, you haven't necessarily learned it. So some of the questions we're going to ask at the end require you to think and not exactly guess, but reach educated answers, because we really want you to not just learn some basic points, but learn to think like a loan officer and understand the structure. That's going to help you more going forward than having the exact answers cookie cutter delivered to you. So that's one thing that we have had people respond. So you mentioned our 100% CLTV. That's something we're going to be adding to the masterclass. Are there other things that aren't in there that you feel like we should add or people have asked for?
Other than the 100% CLTV, that's a big one. Like I said, I know you're working on it. A few other things people have mentioned is about our raw land program or fix and flip, since there are questions about it. But I don't know if that's necessarily a section we should add, since it's something completely separate.
I know some people have also asked for a whole separate section just on marketing. And I don't actually know that we're going to put it in here for a reason I've described before. I'll just say it again real quickly. Marketing is so different based on who you are and what resources you have. Some people, all you can do is go talk to people you know. Some people have massive email databases. Some people know how to do billboard advertising. So your kind of marketing is really going to depend on your resources. And that's one of the things we'll talk about in the implementation and strategy call, is what's the best way to make this work for you. We may end up doing all sorts of different master classes on the different types of marketing, but we don't want to go into something and it's wholly irrelevant or we steer you into a wrong direction. Something I tell a lot of people is, I don't want to teach you a new kind of marketing when you're really good at something else. If you're already really good at something else, it's better to apply that to this, and we can help you do that. It's easier to help you apply it than to teach you a whole new kind of marketing where you're going to go through a 3-year learning curve on doing something you've never done before. That is why we don't have a big marketing section. With that said, I have found most people just knowing that this kind of lending exists and being able to tell other people about it, you'll start finding opportunities where you didn't even know they existed. So I don't know that you really need a big marketing section in order to be effective with this, because there's people out there looking for money. Once they know you have it, they're coming to you.
Sure.
All right, so now we're getting into the Stump Andy section. We don't come with your questions yet. Start thinking about what your questions, what you want them to be. We want real estate related questions, something that would potentially be in the masterclass. So get your questions ready. We have seeded it with a few questions in advance, so we're going to bounce off him. I know he knows the answer to these, so these are layups. But let's tell you what the prizes are if you're able to stump Andy. All right? And by stump Andy, I mean you ask a question and he either gives the wrong answer or gives no answer at all. If he just stops talking and sits there, you have stumped him. Okay. That's a sign, all right? So 3 prizes. We start with the best prize, which I think everybody's going to want the most, and that's early access to our next upcoming masterclass, which is the Unsecured Finance Masterclass. It's a whole other product. It's our longest running product. People make a lot of money with it. It's awesome. So if you can stump Andy, you will get early access to that class. Now, some of the people watching this will be our member offices who already have this. So if you already have access to the upcoming masterclass,
Frank,
then we have 2 other options for you. First would be one of our Lend to It I Got Funded cowbells. All right, get your own sent to you. And I know some people have won these in the past, so we came up with another one, and that is a Chromecast. We have a Chromecast that's been in the office for like a year, ready to be a prize for somebody, and Darren wants to get it out of here. So if you want a Chromecast, they're cool. I don't have a Chromecast. Darren, you have one? Tell everybody why the Chromecast is awesome.
No. So at home, I've actually
No.
I have
like
Amazon stuff, but Google's changing all their products, and they're going to be combining them with Nest, which is the company that they just recently purchased. I shouldn't say recently, but that they purchased. So all of their products are going to be all connected, and so if you are interested in having an automated or smart home, this is the thing for you, especially if you have kids and they like video games. Google's coming out with Stadia, which is going to be going at 10.4 teraflops for the graphics.
That's what kids need, more video
Teraflops.
games.
10.4.
Darren is the king of having the intelligent house. I think Alexa wakes him up in the morning. Wake up, Darren. Wake up.
Yeah, I also have it connected to my Galaxy Watch.
Yeah, all right.
Galaxy.
Darren's on it. Okay, so if you want to get something like a Chromecast, which I think basically allows you to watch TV on your TV. Right?
A number of other things, but yes.
I'll be Googling it later.
There you got it. All right, so anyway, access to the upcoming masterclass, I Got Funded cowbell, or a Chromecast. All right, let's dive into it. Here's the layup questions. First of all right, here we go. Tom is asking for $200,000 for an upcoming project. He owns a commercial building valued at $650,000, and he only owes $285,000 on it. Can you use that commercial property to get him the funding he needs to complete his program? He needs $200,000. Andy?
Well, first and foremost, use is my favorite word, only. You know, everyone only needs so much. But
Yep,
with this
just
program,
$200K.
oh yeah, no big deal.
In 2 days. All right,
In 2 days,
I like it when it-
that also comes into play quite a bit, surprisingly. No, so it's not going to fit in our program because the first thing to remember is we only lend in first position. So our loan would have to encompass the loan they already have out.
Okay, so, all right, so what is that? So we've got a $650,000 property. Our max LTV on commercial is
Max.
55%.
Correct.
So that's $357,000. That would be paying off or refinancing his first mortgage and getting him some extra cash. So that only leaves $72,500 only, right? And then there's closing costs and fees and origination that comes out of that. Probably only going to net, I don't know, 40 grand. So, but it doesn't mean that he can't do it. It just means he's not going to get 200 grand. So if I was talking to him, I'd say, hey, you can't get 200 grand, but if we can get you 40 or so, are you able to at least move forward with your project? Then we might be able to salvage it that way. But the number one most common question or misunderstanding I get from people on LTV is that we're not looking as a percentage of the equity, we're looking at a percentage of the entire property value. That's something I messed up before I got into this, and a lot of other people did too. Okay, so we didn't stump Andy yet. Again, these are his questions, so we're not going to be stumping him.
Well, real quick to stay on that one too, thing to remember that I'm doing a lot, as I said, I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, is to offer that. Even though, like I said, the answer was no to the question, I'm in the belief if you need a little bit of money, if you need a lot of money, you can use a little bit of money. So they might be able to find it. That's a little bit of stretch on that one. But sometimes if you can get your client or person close to the amount of money they need, they'll be able to find it somewhere else.
You have no idea how many times somebody's asked me for a really big number, say $1 million, and I said, I can get you 50 grand, and you would think there's no way on earth they're going to want it, and most of the time they say, oh yeah, I'd love to have 50 grand or 100 grand, right? So money's money, people appreciate it. Just because it's not what they're asking for doesn't mean you shouldn't offer something else, and we always try to do that. All right, question number 2, what are some problem scenarios for CRE? And by problem scenarios, I believe that means situations where we have trouble lending.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. I think that's...
What are some problem scenarios? And if you're out there in the internet world, feel free to throw in your answers as Andy dives into his. What are some problem areas?
Single-purpose facilities.
What's a single-purpose facility?
Something that can't be repurposed. So like an example would be like a meatpacking plant, a funeral home, or a big one that we see a lot of is churches. Now, if it's a church that can be repurposed, like a multi-purpose facility, maybe, but if it's got a big steeple on the top, it's going to be tough.
It doesn't mean we can't do it. It means we're going to have to adjust the LTV down, and we won't necessarily hit the 55%.
Right.
All right, so single-purpose rural properties. I mean, heck, I feel like we do a heck of a lot.
A lot of rural.
We do more rural than anything else, so it's a bigger problem for other people, but it still is a factor that's going to affect our LTV. And then what about rehab? What's wrong with that?
Rehab's tough. So there's a few things problem with it. One, with this program, we're really looking at the value as is right now. So as soon as someone says rehab or rehabilitation, they're looking at the ARV, which is the value after they've done the problem. So it's tough because they think the value is going to be what's after. We're really looking at the as-is value now. And another thing that's tough to be wary of is if they start the rehab and they run out of funds, it's going to really diminish the value of the property. So lots of time lenders are wary of that.
Yeah, anytime somebody needs to do rehab to a facility, if there's enough equity for us to pull the money out, often we're going to put the rehab money into a construction reserve and dole it out as the project gets completed, just to make sure somebody doesn't run off to Mexico or whatever people do. It's just about seeing it all. So if the equity's there,
Tim's looking to say yes. I
I'm
think that's
looking to
something
say
very
yes.
important. I know we talked about the member office call. Trey's a no guy. Tim's a yes guy. Working here in the corporate office, I've seen him go to great lengths you'd have no idea to get a deal funded. So if the equity's there, he's looking to say yes.
I'm always looking to say yes.
It's true.
Okay, question number 3, and I hope you got your questions ready. Start putting your questions in now because you got to stump Andy. So start putting them in there. We'll get to them as soon as we finish question number 3. Question number 3 is, if a client that owns we got a client that owns 2 properties free and clear. Values of those properties are $140,000 and $160,000, and the client needs $150 grand, but you got 2 properties. Can we use both properties on one loan?
I think the key thing you said there with key words, like those words, is both. So lots of times, if you've worked with us, you know the value of the loans we want to do is at least $100,000. So at the 55% LTV, that wouldn't make it there, but being able to use both properties, we're able to put it in a blanket loan and use both to get the goal. So
that's right. We love blankets. Now, there's a lot of fix and flip lenders out there who will refuse to do something like that. They want each property to be independent. We're different. We're the opposite. If somebody is not quite there and they have other collateral or real estate they want to bring in, great. We'll tie it up and help the client get the amount of money that they want for their project. I've seen deals where they wrapped up 10 or 12 different properties in one just to help somebody get to the number that they need for their project. So those are our 3 tee-ups. I got to say, guys, I'm a little disappointed. I expected to see a flood of questions out there. If you want to get early access to the unsecured finance program, let's hear it. All right. If not, then we're going to have Darren ask questions.
Ooh.
Yeah, right?
Someone better put something in because I don't want to have Darren questions.
Somebody ask a question of
Frank
Andy.
Aleo.
Stump Andy.
Play around.
I heard that Frank has
I've
this
got
whole
plenty
team
for
on
you,
me.
man.
Okay, all right. Darren's going to start. Darren's trying to win early access to the unsecured finance masterclass.
Yeah, because I need early access to that.
Okay, all right. Go for it, Darren. I don't see anything coming in, so you're up.
Yeah. All right. So if you have somebody who comes to you and they have a duplex, and let's say it's located in Florida,
Okay.
Good
Duplex in Florida.
but they're purchasing it, and the seller is not necessarily willing to put additional money in. How would you
What do you
work
mean by the
that
seller
deal?
put money in? Why would the seller
if you
put
It's
were
like
money
a
in?
carryback.
Mm-hmm. How would you be able to work that deal?
So they're looking to purchase a duplex, and the seller's not looking to do any carryback. Well, we could possibly cross-collateralize another property that they have. We could look at some other assets they have, but really with our guidelines, we're sticking with the 55%, or I guess 60% is residential, the duplex. We're sticking with that loan to value, so if we can cross-collateralize something else, or if you have some funds, we can go through one of our other funding programs, which is great. Depending on the amount UBF could be a good quick one.
Yeah. So
Or they could just pony up the cash. They could just put a down payment of 40%. That's the easiest way to do it. That's probably the best.
Mm-hmm. But main focus is ask questions, find out more. You may not have the entire story.
Yeah, right? Ask about other properties. That's probably the most frequently forgotten thing. Say, hey, do you own any other real estate? Now, let's say they do own other real estate, Andy, and it's the house that they live in. How can you factor that in?
Great. Well, you could. We try to avoid owner-occupied. If at least 51% is going to business, we might be able to work something out. But you're going to have to prove it. It's going to be complicated. So we want to try to avoid owner-occupied, but there is a possibility. So like I said, Tim's looking to say yes. So at that point in time, I would just push it on Tim's desk and hope it works out.
All right, yeah, that one's going to be real tough. Probably is going to be no if it's owner-occupied, but you never know. If it's free and clear, we might be able to tie it in there. All right, we have not stumped Andy yet. All right, I do have a questions coming in here from Stan. Stan, thank you for being the first one to ask a question. This might win you a prize, Stan. All right, what is the commission rate? And if Andy doesn't know this, I'm sorry. What is the commission rate for those of us who have taken the master class?
It is double whatever your current commission structure is. So
Double
that's something
forever?
important to remember. Double for the first time.
Double for the first time.
Immediately following the first deal you get done, which I know a few of you have been working with me have already taken up on that. But it's immediately following the course, the next deal you send through will get double commission. So whatever your commission structure is, times 2.
And what is that commission structure? So a standard agent, what is the normal commission on real estate, and what is double that?
Well, half a point, standard. So a standard deal we've seen is about $500,000 for real estate. So for a standard agent, the commission off that would be $2,500. Upon completion of the course, so you got to go all the way through it, you get double commission, so it'd go to a full point, which is $5,000.
Now, one thing that's come up is we've had people come in who they do a lot of another program, and not necessarily real estate. They want to get started in real estate, but that double commission, you can use that in another program as well, right? If you sign up for the CRE Masterclass, but you end up doing a UBF deal first, we'll give you double commission on that. Doesn't have to be, unless you say, hey, I want to hold for my first real estate deal, which I would, because it's probably going to be much larger, but that is up to you. You can get double on whatever you want. We have had some recruiters ask if they get double commission. Unfortunately, a point is the double commission. So that's that. Okay. Frank said something else. We're going to skip that. Stan's really shooting for that Stump the Andy, so thank you, Stan. His next one is, would a client have to leave their job if they want to use their retirement account to fund their real estate purchase? Ooh, okay, that one's complicated. All right. Andy.
That was a good question, Stan. I want to be stumped just so you can get the prize. But the answer is yes. So to use a retirement rollover, it has to be from a previous employer. You can talk to Ben Morris, who does a great job. He's helped quite a few people for me. And he'll be able to do a consultation with you and set up so you can time it out the way you want. But yes, it has to be from a previous employer.
So that's not 100% correct, because if they're working somewhere but their 401k is from a previous employer, they don't have to leave their job to use retirement funds. So guess what, Stan? Darren, are you showing that? Are you showing my slide?
I hope so.
Show my slide, man. Get on this.
It's going to get
You
used
stumped
for me.
Andy. I don't know if Darren's shown it yet, but
I hope so.
at some point you're going to see me dancing with money for Stan the Man.
For Stan the Man.
So
Remember
Stan,
that.
you're going to have to let us know if you want early access to the Unsecured Finance Masterclass or the Bell or the famous Chromecast. All right, moving on. Anybody else have any other questions? Darren, you get another chance to stump him. You want the Chromecast. Darren wants to take down the Chromecast.
Darren cannot have the Chromecast.
I don't need the Chromecast.
Well, he's really selling the Chromecast well.
No, I just wanted to get it out of the office.
It's that exciting that we really want to get it out of here. We just send it to you. Maybe we'll throw it in with your Stan. If nobody else asks any questions, Stan, we're going to include the Chromecast. We just doubled not just your commission, but also the prize. Just like that. All right. Thank you, Stan. We appreciate you. All right. Well, whatever. Nobody else. I'm going to try to stump Andy. Let's see here. Okay. So if a client comes in and they need to get funded, actually funds dispersed, within 2 weeks, what has to happen for them to be able to get a loan that quickly?
Ooh, that quickly. They better have all their ducks in a line. Appraisal done quickly. Well, first thing, you got to get the LOI returned and signed with the title deposit, and then lots of prayers, maybe. But if we get all the documents in that week, as well as the appraisal done quickly, title back, hopefully everything's free and clear and there's no bumps in the road, that could be it. But
All right. Darren, what do you think? Is that right?
If you're trying to get it funded, there's a few other things you need.
What do you think? What needs to happen to get funded within 2 weeks? What he said was get title and appraisal back quickly, and
So, the better question is Andy, how
here, classic
how
Darren
long
with this.
can we take? Like, if an appraisal comes in, what is the longest it can have been appraised? Like,
30
this-
days for an appraisal. That's what
this
you're
is a
asking
different.
for.
This
These
is a
these
little bit of a
are 30
different
days.
question.
That will
so
matter.
I want to go on to this question.
And if it is
after.
an appraisal, we need to have it reappraised in our name. So that's something that's important too. So we're
So
not
if
just going
you
to take all the
have- so if
willy-nilly
somebody comes in
appraisals.
and has an appraisal, has to be within a certain amount of time, because an appraisal might take 2 weeks, might take less, but title might take longer. So if they're coming in
North
with
Dakota,
those
just look
docs
at
ahead
you.
of time, then
Oh,
you
yeah,
have a
but North
much
Dakota.
better chance of having it funded in 2 weeks. As we've found, certain states for title can take up as much as 2 months.
In my experience, the only way to really get it done in 2 weeks is if you come in with a recent appraisal and a title policy already open. We can go to the appraiser and ask him a recent one. We can go to the appraiser and say, reissue this in our name. And sometimes we could even have that part accomplished after the funding happens. So that's not necessarily going to slow things up. And you have a title officer where they've already opened a title policy and we can get them to then switch it into our name. That is much faster. Shockingly, I've had title, talk about, I don't even want to think about North Dakota because that took maybe 50 days
was
for us to
weird.
get a title policy in North Dakota. Don't get me started. But reasonably, I've seen title take a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
The ones I've dealt with, so I was surprised about North
shocking.
Dakota.
So title has been taken longer than appraisals. But if you've already opened a title policy, like if you're a loan officer working with somebody and you can open title right away, we honestly don't really care what the title company is. If they're willing to insure the loan, awesome, we'll do that. But you know, so we got to have a good appraisal that's recent. Those two things. You bring us a deal where you've got appraisal and title already, and we can definitely fund it within the 2 week time frame. Case in point, we just did a church, and I think that was about the 2 week mark, more or less. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I got another question.
Dying.
All right, somebody else, somebody by the name of Bring More Clients. I love your YouTube name,
Bring
by
more
the way.
clients. Yeah, that's good.
Asked the 401k, the individual will be limited as to the amount, i.e. $475 in their 401k. Most companies only allow a certain percentage to be withdrawn.
Is that correct?
That is a good
That's
question.
a great question. Ooh, the
for
answer.
Ben.
The answer is that is correct in the sense that most companies only allow you to withdraw a certain amount. So you can take a loan against your 401k.
That's capped at 50,
It's capped at 50.
almost always.
But with this program with Ben, it depends on the type of 401k you have. So with that amount, there is possibility to roll over the whole thing, and so you can use the whole thing to invest. But really, Ben's going to have to take a look at your 401k first to see if it's applicable to their situation. So great question, and that's really case by case. So some yes, some no. Really depends on how the 401k is structured as opposed to your previous employer.
401ks, if it's not from your current employer, you have the ability to roll the whole thing over. If it's
Correct.
actually a 401k. There's lots of other types of retirement accounts where there might be different rules. If it's with a current employer, then your current employer might have the allowance for you to remove money from your 401k, and it might be capped. Most of the time, if you have a 401k and it's not from your current employer, there's no limit. You can roll over all the money, other than the stuff we just talked about. Excellent question. All right, it looks like we're out of questions, and Darren's got another question. All right, go for it.
Yeah, I do. And this actually has to do with something we just did recently.
Ooh.
So, Andy, can we fund buildings that are single purpose?
Can we fund buildings that are single purpose? Can we? Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That kind of goes back to Tim's looking to say yes. He's looking to work around things.
I'm looking.
Yep.
I mean, we had this really,
been a lawyer in
really
another life.
weird-looking rib shack come in a while back where
Yeah.
I just had to say no. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was a funky-looking
We tried
place,
a few times,
man.
actually.
I've had some weird ones come through. I mean, right now, for example, we are trying to fund a 20,000 square foot, really flippin' weird house. You could call that single purpose. The only purpose is to go have a weird time because it's weird. So there's an example. What's some other weird?
Maybe, it's like a 1920s party you could have there. Very, very affluent.
That house is more like a 1990s cocaine party. It's really weird. All right, so there's that. What's the weirdest property you've seen come through?
The weirdest property I've
Besides
seen
that
come
rib
through.
shack.
We had the racetrack.
Racetrack.
The
Okay.
racetrack / landing strip.
Racetrack.
Race
Why am I
strip.
saying
It was
racetrack?
pretty rural. It was zoned commercial, so we definitely we gave it a go, and if the equity was there, it would have been a fit. But it was weird. It was.
The reason I say racetrack is that normally you think of a racetrack, I'm thinking either horse racing or car racing. You
Was
got
not.
bleachers, you got some buildings, people coming there to race. It is not. It was flat land. It was an airstrip that somebody converted to do drag racing.
Drag racing, a
And it
race
was
strip.
not worth. Oh, and by the way, they totally lied to us. They submitted a fake BPO, which is a broker price opinion. 100% fake because we called the broker. And what did he say about the guy? Don't say his
Ooh.
name, but just.
He said, "Don't give him any money." He said, "Yeah, I did it. Don't."
Right.
Wouldn't let him dime. So.
I'm trying. What's the weirdest property I've seen? Probably that house that I just mentioned is probably the weirdest one I've seen come through. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up for the day. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Thank you, Andy, for allowing us to stump you. Thank you, Stan, for stumping the Andy.
Stan.
And I created this GIF, so somebody had to stump him just so I could show myself with money, right?
Absolutely.
Do the money. Do the money thing. All right, everybody, we're out of here.
Don't
Thank
show
you.
that.
We look forward to doing a lot more deals together, and we'll see you next week.
Hi,
for the
Jeremy.
Mystery show. All right, we're out.